Well, hello everybody. It's saying that the Hangout is now live. So hello out there in Hangout land, in YouTube land, in wherever land. This is really just a test Hangout. So it's that's why when I sent it out as an event, I didn't really say people had to attend or they should attend because um, I have no real idea about Hangouts on Air other than I've watched quite a few of them and I've been in one or two as a guest, but I've never done one myself. So rather than sort of inflict this onto people, I thought I would just have a go myself. And then sort of, because that's the way I tend to learn things is to sort of just jump in and give it a go and see what happens. And so I think I've nutted out one thing, but then I made a mistake right at the beginning because I clicked off on the adding a guest to the Hangout before I could add a guest. So that's something that I have learned already, because then I couldn't work out how to get back to inviting someone as a guest. And with a Hangout on Air, you have the people that actually watch the Hangout, say from a YouTube channel, or if it's embedded on a website or wherever. And you have the other people who are guests who actually are in the film strip down here and can participate in the Hangout, and you invite them before you launch the Hangout. In other words, what you do is you're actually, when you first open your Hangout, you're in a green room sort of situation where you're not live, but you're running. And that's the time, beforehand that you can invite guests to come along and, or you can even do it well in advance, as I've sort of worked out now that I could have gone into this sort of green room, sent out the invites to the Hangout, and then sort of closed the green room without going live. And it would have, then it would have worked. I could have emailed them out a link or text them out a link or something like that, a special, the guests link, or invitation to join the Hangout. So, that's something I've learned straight away. So that's why I sort of do things this way, so that I can just play around, and that's the way I learn how to do stuff. So I know Hangouts on Air have been around for quite a long time. As I say, I've actually watched quite a few of them over the years. Some podcasters, as they're recording their audio podcasts, also use Hangouts on Air as a way of getting extra traffic, so they do it live while they're recording the audio for their audio podcasts. And, if you've got the bandwidth capabilities and you've got the setup, it's certainly an extra way that you can grab more listeners to your podcast. The other reason why I sort of wanted to run it as a test today is because of my internet, living in Australia here, my internet capacity, and how many people might sort of find their way here, but also whether the quality of this Hangout will be good because of my internet or lack of internet speed, particularly upload speeds. So I'm just curious about how this will look also once YouTube's done its recording of it after the event, whether it'll be, an acceptable recording, or whether it'll be fuzzy, or whether it'll be disjointed because, or blocky or whatever. Because at the moment I've never done one before, of course, and so I don't know how my upload speed will really hang together for this. For those Australians, I don't yet have the NBN here yet. It's slated to be here sometime 2016, so hopefully then that will give me, I think, about 5 megabits a second upload speed. From currently I have most times just less than 1 megabit upload speed, and if I'm really doing well, I have 1. So really that's at the really bottom end if you're trying to stream anything. The other day, for example, I tried to use a Facebook app, or sorry, not a Facebook app, but an app that connects to Facebook. It's called Nomadcast, and it allows you to stream live from an iOS device to Facebook. Some of you who've got Facebook will know some of the celebrities on Facebook have able to access a Facebook app which allows them to stream video live. But for the rest of us who are not in that situation, we haven't been able to do it. But this app allegedly allows you to do it. So again, like today, I ran some tests, and there was nothing wrong with the app, but there was everything wrong with my internet speed. I was using it actually at work, and so probably the internet was slightly congested at work, but I was unable to hold a stream together. It would just, start, run for a few seconds, 30 seconds maybe, then it would drop and it would pick up again and it would drop. And it wasn't the app, because what I did for a second test was I disabled my Wi-Fi and I used Nomadcast on 4G, and it worked like lightning. It really streamed well, but I couldn't stream for very long because I don't have a very big data allowance, and so it would have chewed up my monthly data allowance very quickly. But it worked very well. So if I can get the NBN here next year, and if it does at least give me 5 megabits, that's nothing to write home about, but it's still better than less than 1. And hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit of streaming, because I'm sort of interested in playing around with that sort of technology. So really, that was the long-winded reason why I decided to do this test hangout today. And I could have just done it and not said anything, not even sent out an event and just sort of talked to myself for about 25 minutes. But I thought I may as well try out what the events are like, and I'll send out an event and just see what happens with that process. And then if anyone happens to sort of lob along, then they can, listen in and all that sort of stuff. I find my first sort of thoughts on Hangouts on Air and actually setting one up and making an event, it seems to be a bit clunky and a bit confusing. And I think, services like Blabber, or I think it's Blab, and are sort of gazumping Hangouts on Air a bit, because they're much easier to launch. And I think, I think Google need to sort of look a bit at Hangouts on Air and how you actually, preset one up, how you invite people, that sort of thing, because it is a bit confusing. I know there are people out there that actually, like Ronnie Binns, the Hangout Helper, and that actually run training courses on how to do a Hangout on Air. Now, that's great, but if you need a training course to run a Hangout on Air, then maybe the Hangout on Air technology is a little bit confusing. Maybe it needs to be revamped a little bit. The other thing is, I don't think with a Hangout on Air you can launch it from a mobile device like your phone or a tablet or something like that. Now, other services, like Blab and that you can, and Meerkat and Periscope, you in fact, you launch it mobile. And they've become very popular because of that. I think with a Hangout on Air, you can launch it and then invite people who have mobile devices to join. But again, that's a sort of a clunky way around trying to get a mobile hangout going. Vic Gundotra, who was Google Plus's big chief a few years ago, he was interviewed on a Hangout on Air a couple of years ago, and I happened to sit up one night. I was and watch, and he was asked a very question about mobile Hangouts on Air and being able to launch one from, say, a phone. His comment was at the time that if I can remember, is that they hadn't worked out a way of protecting copyright. His fear was that people would, and could launch Hangouts, and video rock concerts and Hangout and rock concerts and various stuff that they didn't have the rights to. And I guess he was worried that Google, being in the middle of that, might have ended up being sued by bands and various other things for breaching copyright, or which I can certainly understand. I mean, the temptation would be there to wave your phone around, and with YouTube's power, the fact that millions of people regularly watch YouTube, then if you're you could in fact be streaming a live concert and having a very large audience. But that was a couple of years ago, and it doesn't seem like Google have done much since then to open it up to mobile technology. And they've really been sidestepped, because along has come Meerkat, along has come Periscope, and you can see by their popularity that people like the idea of, if they've got the bandwidth, if they've got the data allowance, to just grab their phone and launch a mobile stream. And so I think Google's been a bit left behind. Hangouts, I think, still has a lot of potential, but eventually the potential has got to be realized. And I think Google really needs to work on that. And I think from my little short test so far, it needs to work on how you launch a Hangout. And I think it needs to simplify the whole process. Just, 1 or 2 clicks, add the people, bang, you started. And I think that's maybe I'm missing something, but I just felt that it's a little bit clunky to do that. So, but once you're in and once you started, I mean, from my screen here, it's looking like it's it's okay, but I have no idea what it's looking like out there and being streamed to, and I'll really only find that out properly when I end the broadcast, and then YouTube does its auto magic and does its encoding, and then eventually, I don't know how long it takes for a Hangout to appear on the YouTube channel as a recorded video, because I've only ever my YouTube videos, I do them, of course, here on my computer, and then once I finish, I upload them. So, and generally they're short. My YouTube videos, as you can see, usually 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I haven't done a longer one yet because I haven't had a topic that's needed me to do a longer one yet. So that's what I've been thinking about. I've also been thinking about how maybe a Hangout on Air could be used where I work, and I work for an adult education centre part-time, and they're looking at new technologies to be able to deliver classes, for trainers to be able to deliver content to students. Hangouts on Air, I mean, at the moment, just using the straightforward Hangouts, it's a live broadcast, so for everybody. So they probably wouldn't want something where non-students would be sitting in and watching. But I know there are options available, and I know there are even third-party companies like Business Hangouts and that actually provide a service where you can launch a Hangout on Air to a private audience, so people who you've invited to watch the Hangout. So that was really it. And so if anyone has popped in and sort of been sitting there listening or watching, I apologize for me droning on a bit, because this was the reason I was doing it, and this was the reason why I didn't really promote it as come and watch my Hangout, because it wasn't really going to be anything particularly exciting. It was really just me shooting the breeze and testing the technology, throwing up the video on YouTube or Google doing that for me, and actually seeing what the technology does, seeing what the limitations are of my internet connection, and that was that. But while I've got a little bit more time before I think I slated this for about 30 minutes, but while I've got a bit more time to sort of chew the breeze, I thought I would say I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and I don't know if any of you who are listening out there watched the latest episode where the Zygons were back in Doctor Who. Those of you who are Doctor Who fans and sort of Whovians will know the Zygons. They're those sort of rubbery looking aliens that can shapeshift into human form. And it was a great episode. It's another one of those two-parters. So spoilers if you haven't seen part one. I'll try not to sort of, give the plot line away, but I haven't seen it at the time of recording this. I haven't seen part two. Part two comes on in Australia this Sunday night. So I haven't seen it. It's Tuesday morning here at the time of my recording this. What I was actually interested about was the actual storyline, more the storyline of it and how it sort of equates to asylum seekers and how it equates to extremism, because in the Doctor Who story, the Zygons have been living amongst humans for quite a while, in human form, and most of the humans don't, in fact, know that Zygons live with them. Unfortunately, which hasn't been fully scoped out in the first episode, something happens and a number of the Zygons become disenchanted with humans and become radicalized and decide, firstly, they want to live amongst humans in their real format, in their real shape, their real body, rather than pretending to be humans. And secondly, they actually want to take over the world, and they become radicalized. And on one hand, you've got the Doctor trying to have a peaceful solution, and you've got UNIT, that the organisation, trying to bomb them, saying that they're radicalised, they're extreme, they're a danger to humanity. We need to bomb them. And it's sort of, I don't think you need to be a Rhodes Scholar to realise that the storyline, the plot line, is really following along a human plot line. That is, the issues we have in the Middle East with extremism and the issues that we have with how we deal with extremism. Do we just go in militarily and bomb places and that's going to stop the extremism? Or, do we look for other more peaceful solutions? Do we look to try and to help people to break that extremism? And I will be interested in the next episode and seeing how the story resolves itself. But it really does mirror what's happening in the world. It mirrors in a way what's happening in Australia with our what I consider our brutal policy on asylum seekers, where in the Doctor Who episode they signed a treaty with the Zygons and allowed them to live in all over the world, millions of them, as long as they kept human form, so they wouldn't sort of, frighten the population. But that's an ethical question in itself. Should they have allowed the Zygons to just live as Zygons and said, but that's an ethical and moral question in itself. But what interested me was how close this storyline is pushing about what is happening in probably in Britain where Doctor Who was made, but also around the world where there is homegrown, radicalized young people who feel alienated about the countries they live in and who turn to extreme, in this case, extreme versions of Islam. And they, try and travel to Syria and the Middle East to join IS or Al-Qaeda or, some of these other radical groups, and, why are the reasons behind it. And also the very fact that you've got competing ways to try and deal with it. You've got, on one hand, of course, the military, they'll lock them up, stop them coming here, bomb them, all these sorts of things. And you've got other people who believe that it needs a multi-part approach, and that is that you need to work out why these young people are being radicalized and then find ways to, if you like, de-radicalize them. And so I found that a really interesting premise for a science fiction episode, where in this case it's aliens, and how do we deal with aliens? And of course, in the Doctor Who universe, most of the population don't know anything about what's happening, and how do you deal with 20 million aliens that can shapeshift, that can be blobby looking creatures 1 minute and rubbery looking creatures 1 minute, and then can look like you the next minute. So if we're having issues with radical Islam, I think we would certainly have problems trying to address those type of issues of 20 million aliens suddenly appearing on Earth. But I found it quite a fascinating episode, and I found it an interesting episode on that level. And I'll be really looking forward to episode number 2 this Sunday, particularly to see how the Doctor survives. And again, I won't spoil it, but he's in mortal danger as the episode ends. This episode ends. So of course, he is the Doctor. Of course, he will find some ingenious way to survive because the series does go on. But I'll be interested to see how he does it. And I'll be interested to see what answers the writers give, if any, for the big questions that they've been posing to people in this first episode. And I think it's great that the Doctor Who writers are actually posing these questions and you know, making us look at ourselves and saying, how do we deal with people who may become radicalized? And are we some of the reasons why people have become radicalizing? Are we dehumanizing these people? Are we pushing them to the margins of society? All those, they're big and important questions, and I think that it's really interesting that it's being asked in a science fiction show. And for some people, it'll just go over their heads. They'll just enjoy the Doctor Who episodes. But I'm sure for a lot of other people, it will get them thinking. And I think for me, that's why I like when people ask me, why do you like a show like Doctor Who, a science fiction show, a man that time travels? And that's one of the reasons why I like it, and particularly the rebooted series since 2005, is that it asks at times some moral and ethical questions of us. And I always think it's good to have a show that at the end of an episode, it's not just a matter of going, well, that was great, and what do we do now? But sometimes you sit back and you ponder what the writers were trying to get across. So that was it, really. So that's my my hangout. I didn't quite go half an hour. I apologize. I've gone 20 minutes. But if anyone's actually sat through it all, you're probably sick to death of my my voice at the moment. So I will call it there. If anyone did happen to watch, thank you very much for watching. If anyone happens to watch it after the event, if it does survive Google's encoding and appears as a YouTube video on my YouTube channel, thank you very much for watching. If you are watching it from the YouTube channel, yeah, subscribe. I do try and do videos from time to time, a few sort of videos on Skype and Windows and various other sort of things, little self-help videos and stuff like that. But it's just a hobby I do. But yeah, you're welcome to subscribe and you're welcome to comment. Constructive criticism is always good, but I do emphasize constructive, as I don't tolerate trolling and those sort of negative, nasty type comments. So they will be unceremoniously deleted. So yeah, constructive criticisms, and I look forward to doing another Hangout on Air when I probably will have something that's worth saying, or I'll have some guests in, or I'll do something that's a bit more fun than just me droning on today. So from me, that's it, and thanks for watching.